Hello there, my name is James Wilson. I am the CEO of Alchemy Resources, and I'll just run through a brief presentation for you today regarding what the company has and what we're looking forward to. So yeah, we'll get into it. Just the obligatory documentation there and disclaimer. Have a read of it, you will. Okay, so who is Alchemy? We're a fairly diverse company. We're not chasing the whole periodic table of elements, but we do have a focus in currently in lithium, in gold, and in base metals, and more recently a little bit of iron ore, and I'll talk about that in a second. The lithium that we have in the projects is the large battery belt land position east of Kalgoorlie. We discovered it largely after one of the existing lithium deposits was found close to us, called Global Lithium's Manna deposit, and we have a ground position around those guys, which is very exciting. Previous to that, we'd been very much a focused gold explorer, and we have a gold inventory of just over 450,000 ounces within two projects, one in New South Wales and one in Western Australia, which are immediately adjacent to existing mines. And in base metals, we have two joint ventures on base metals, one up in the Bryah Basin and in north of WA up near Meekatharra, and another one in New South Wales with Develop Global. And we're also optioning an agreement for another joint venture over there as well. So a lot of our assets are diverse, but we also have a very development-ready assets and near to infrastructure and whatnot. So they're obviously a near-term development play. So I'll chat about those as we go on. So the investment snapshot very briefly for Alchemy. We have cash of $4 million at the December quarter, December 31. As of today, I think at about 0.8 cents, we have a market cap of about $9.3 million. Very low in our opinion, much like the rest of the junior explorers sector, and an enterprise value of about $5.3 million, adding that up. So we're cheap, we think, and I'll tell you why. The Coroni assets in Western Australia, as I spoke about earlier, we have LCT pegmatites that we discovered. We've discovered spodumene. We've discovered lepidolite on our ground. It's a very dominant 100% owned ground position over there, a very big area as well, and a growing gold resource base there as well next to existing mines. In the Bryah, which is up towards Meekatharra in the north of WA, we've got exploration. We've just recently reacquired 100% of a set of tenements in the Bryah that we had with joint venture with Sandfire Resources, and they collectively spent about $18 million on that ground over about 5 years. So it's a very, very important database, very valuable database as well. We also have a development-ready asset with Catalyst Metals in the same area, and they are currently developing the plutonic gold operations about 60 kilometres up the road from us. We have an existing resource there that's ready to mine. In Lachlan, in the New South Wales Gilmore Suture area in New South Wales, we have the Yellow Mountain asset. It's an ultra high-grade copper-gold exploration play. We also have the West Lynn asset, which is nickel, cobalt, and high-purity alumina, and our Overflow asset just in the middle of all that, which has a 340,000 ounce gold equivalent resource, so which is adjacent to existing mines. Just looking at Western Australia very briefly, you can see on the right of the map there, we have a very large position there from end to end, from the south to the north. There's about 160 kilometres of strike. As you can see, these labels over here are the existing lithium operations. Obviously, everybody's in the news at the moment talking about that. In particular, the Mount Marion, Pioneer Dome and Bald Hill belt to the west there near Kalgoorlie. But sort of explored area is where we are over in the east here. And the only deposit in our area is called Manna. That's owned by Global Lithium Resources, and that's 32.7 million tonnes of 1% lithium, and we surround them on every side. Historically, this tenure has always been gold prospectivity, gold exploration, and only really by accident did anybody find any lithium on the ground. And so we've been focusing on that for probably about the last 18 months, and we have found lithium-based minerals. We've just got to find that enrichment zone. And as they say, the more you drill, the more you find. In that same area, just next to Manna, we have 111,000 ounce gold resource, and we released that in September 2021. And that's immediately on the boundary of Silver Lake Resources' Aldous operations, and they're several hundred meters away from us. Up on Lake Rebecca, this is newly granted tenure. It's a 570 square kilometre land package. It's adjacent to the Northern Star guys on the left side up at Crusoe Dam, and to the Ramelius guys at their Apollo or Rebecca operations to the east. And to the south, we have Ramelius with their Lake Row operations as well. So there's two mining operations and 3 development plays within Cooey of all our tenements, which is very exciting. Just there, sorry about the labels, they came late. Okay, just looking at the lithium tenure that we have, we've got very large areas of lithium in soil anomalism on our ground. There you can see in the middle is Global Lithium's project at Manor, and you can see Alchemy's tenements in blue just surrounding them on the outside. A few pictures there that we've had. This is on our ground, the spodumene in HYRC 006 that we got last year, and more recently the lepidolite and rock chips a few kilometers north of it that were going about just over 4,500 ppm lithium. They're not ore grade at the moment, but they are showing you that there's a very, very big trend of surface mineralization in our area that we've just got to trace and find that enrichment zone. And again, it's the more you drill, the more you find. Soil geochemistry that we've done recently over in the west here at Roe Hills. And as you can see, it's a 12 kilometer by 6 kilometer soil anomaly, another one next to it by 3.5 by 3.5 kilometers. We're about to commence more soils to go and infill these areas at our Roe Hills and our Manhattan areas in about the next week or two. Again, once I explained earlier on, we have 111,000 ounces of gold resources at Taupo in the south there, and just even further south at Parmelia and our KZ5 deposit that sit right around those mining operations just down there as well. So they are a potential development play in the future. Looking north to Lake Rebecca, this is a targeting map that we did sometime last year. It's a strategic landholding and multi-million ounce gold corridor. The Keith Kilkenny Shear comes up here, and as you can see, Northern Star is on the top left there with the Caruso Dam operations with several million ounces of resources up there, and Ramelius over here with the Rebecca Gold Project on the right, moving towards development as well, and we're sandwiched right in the middle of that. Very little gold exploration on this area, very little lithium exploration until now, and that's what we're actually about assessing in the near term, and a very exciting play overall. Just moving to the north towards the Bryah Basin joint venture. This is north of Meekatharra in Western Australia. As you can see in red there, we have the Alchemy 100% owned tenure. This was previously in a JV that we had with Sandfire Resources since 2014, and they just handed it back just recently. Very exciting parcel of land. It was meant to be sort of copper gold discovery along strike of DeGrussa. The company spent overall probably about $18 million on this ground, and we've got all the data for that. So we're following that up. We've found some pretty exciting things near term as we've been assessing the database. In particular, there's outcropping iron ore here in the south that we're really sort of focusing on at the moment. It's on a mining lease. It's had native title extinguished, and it could actually be a very near-term development play, we think. So we're really looking at sort of putting some planning in there to go and do some drilling there and trying to get that done in the first half of this year. And we'll have some news out to market once we actually have some more news and details on that. Just in the blue area there, it's the Catalyst joint venture with Catalyst Metals. Their code is ASX CYL. We are free carry to production there, and we own 20% of the Hermes South deposit that just is about 60 kilometers from the Plutonic mine. And if they mine it, we basically get revenue from the company. We also have an NSR, a net smelter return, on the Hermes deposit as well. So it's worth a bit of money to investors in Alchemy. And I believe that the Catalyst guys are actually looking at developing all these assets at some point in the future. Just moving to New South Wales now, we have 3 assets over there. We have the Yellow Mountain exploration project there, which is high-grade copper and lead and zinc. To about 20 kilometers to the north of it, we have the Overflow project, which has an existing gold resource, which we released late last year. And to the north of that, we have the West Lynn project, which is a nickel cobalt asset there with a resource on that as well. It's very exciting. We're advancing all these projects. As you can see, they sit in the Gilmore Suture there, and you can see the number of other miners in the region. There's Aurelia to our west with the Hera and Federation assets. They're in development now. They have existing processing plants. Kingston Resources, to the south with their Mineral Hill assets. That's about 15 kilometers down the road. They're mining as well and processing. And then you've got the CSA mine that was just recently bought by Metals Acquisition Corp for about $775 million US. So it's a very important part of the world. We're actively working there now. We have an option agreement on West Lynn with Ionic Metals, which is a subsidiary of Helix Resources, and that'll vend both assets into that one thing to try and build scale. And at Yellow Mountain, we're just about to go and unlock the land access agreement with the native title partners. We think that's probably a few weeks away. And historically, this has got just over 7.15% rock chips or soil samples around the old mines there from the 1800s. There's malachite, azurite, and sphalerite sitting around on the ground there. It was sampled. It comes up with some very high grades. It's not in situ, but it's very exciting nonetheless. There hasn't been a drill hole in this thing since 1986. So versus overflow just to the north, 342,000 ounces of gold equivalent resources there. Very near-term development prospectivity there as well. And we're talking to local partners on that now to see where we go. Just focusing on the Yellow Mountain asset there, as you can see, it's a very small set of shafts there next to a very big, large, it's a large magnetic anomaly, geophysics anomaly there. You can see the number of results historically that's been in there, 24 meters at 1.12% copper, 1.19% lead, sort of 40 meters at 0.5 now, 9 grams gold, 0.34 copper. They're all near surface, these grades. They're really exciting to see. And as you can see, the grab samples that were done in 2000s going up to 7.15% copper and 6.4% lead. So there's a lot of prospectivity here. It hasn't been drilled since 1986. And there's those sort of grades just lying around on the ground. So we're very excited to go and finish off the land access approvals in there, which we've been working on for some time. We expect that will be done in the next few weeks. And we'll be aiming to drill test these as soon as possible right after that. Just moving north to overflow, this is about 20 kilometers north of Yellow Mountain. They've just put the outline of mineralization on there. There's a lot of historic shafts done at the top of the screen there, and the red outline is basically sort of the outline of the resource. You can see such good intercepts as 6 meters at 7.6 grams per ton gold and 3.6% zinc, and 10 meters at 4.4 grams per ton gold. And they're great in anybody's book, given most people are mining sort of, just over a gram at the moment from open pits. Mineralization has been traced over 700 meters of strike. And if you know anything about Cobar style mineralization in this part of the world, is that these things get bigger and broader at depth. A lot of these mines go down a kilometer or so. So the opportunity for Alchemy is drilling this thing below where the historic drilling has been done and trying to unlock that riddle of where the mineralization goes. But there's quite a bit of it there. As we said, 340,000 ounces just sitting there. And looking for an opportunity to go and process that with one of our local partners. Just looking forward to the Westland asset, which is sitting into the north of the project area in New South Wales. There's 21.3 million tonnes at 0.84% nickel and 0.05 cobalt that's owned 100 or 80% by Alchemy. And we've also got a HPA resource up there as well, 7 million tonnes at 21% alumina. HPA, when it's processed with this stuff, is used in high technology metals, in synthetic sapphire screens and whatnot. So it's a technology metal once it's actually processed. And it's a reasonable grade, and we've got the opportunity to go and mine that in tandem with the nickel cobalt if it can get off the ground. We've actually signed an agreement with Ionic Metals, a subsidiary of Helix, to go and vend our asset into their asset, which is just down the road, to build scale. Because as most people are aware, nickel cobalt resources of this style, you do need to sort of get to about sort of 60 to 80 million tonnes to make it work. And vending our asset to theirs, we sort of already crossed the line of sort of 40 to 50 straight away. So there's not much of a hurdle to get that up a bit further, where it all sort of gets to that trigger point of a development potential. So where's our Alchemy going in the next 12 months or so? Well, we've just completed drilling at the Coronial lithium targets. We've got some low-level lithium results out of that, testing the pegmatites to the south of our existing intercepts. We'll look at follow-up drilling towards the middle of this year as well. We're doing XRF mapping on ground, sort of trying to understand the mineralization in the region there. And as we said, we'll be doing the lithium soils we've completed. The second round will kick off in probably a few weeks. There's been some horrendous rain in Kalgoorlie at the moment, so it's a bit hard to take soil samples when you've got 80 millimeters of rain raining down on you. The catalyst metals and Alchemy Briar exploration will be ongoing for the next 12 months. They just keep going. Catalyst is free carried for us, and then we'll look at doing our iron ore drilling near term, probably the next 2 months or so, once we've got approvals in place. Yellow Mountain land access, as I mentioned, we think that that's probably a few weeks away, and we've been working on that for about 3 years to 4 years. So very exciting time for the company if we can get that granted. And then the drilling will obviously come sort of closer to mid-year. Overflow drilling as well, we'll look at doing some deeper drilling down dip and down plunge. And at Lake Rebecca, the project-wide soil sampling has been completed, and we'll do more reconnaissance sampling and leading into drilling probably later this year. So it's a very exciting portfolio that Alchemy has. Most of our key takeaways on this is that we have development ready or near-term development ready assets. We're looking and talking to partners all the time to try and unlock that solution to generate revenue and value for Alchemy shareholders, and adding the exploration spice on top to sprinkle over the top of that so that we've got some exploration success and discovery going on at the same time. So yes, that's really sort of what we've got to say. As you can see, the key takeaways there: we've got dominant land position, we're fully funded. That's probably the most important thing in this market, and we're not afraid of drill testing our targets as well. Not to mention we're cheap. So yeah, having said that, I'll leave you with that, and I'll thank you for your time today. Thank you.